Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Trundle Domination and I wanted to give you another update on my Fill to Diamond series. So a few weeks ago I got demoted from Platinum and back into Gold 1. And while I'm repromoted now, I still have a lot of resentment for how I got in that situation to begin with, how I had to struggle again with repromotion. But all of that aside, I learned some really valuable lessons that revealed some major flaws with how I viewed the game and how I actually played the game as well. So I wanted to make something very clear first off though. Um, I got demoted not because I was playing random champions and playing inconsistently and trolling games or soft inting like winnable matches. I see two major reasons why my rank fell and why I got demoted. First was a lack of adaptability, um, which I have noticed a lot because I've kind of been pretty stagnant in my gameplay. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But also just bad luck, and I'll talk about that as well. But starting with lack of adaptability, in one of my previous videos, I highlighted a strategy that I've been using for Maokai Jungle, where I solo start Raptors and I 3-camp bot immediately, like no matter what. In Champ Select, I would tell my bot lane to let the enemy lane push in, and then I'll be there around 2 minutes 30. And I developed this strategy because Maokai has fantastic gank potential at level 3. So it worked out really well to just be able to 3-camp. Most of the time, the enemy bot lane's still level 1 when I'm level 3, so it's like a super great way to do it, because Maokai's first 3 camps are pretty fast clear as well. I developed it also because of kind of just the game state right now. Like, bot lane is pretty much the end-all be-all of the game. So if your bot lane wins the game, you're more than likely going to, or your bot lane wins the lane, you're more than likely going to win the game. So that's why I kind of just started centering my whole strategy around making bot lane my priority. However, the problem was made obvious in one of my games where I had this actually pretty competent Yone mid and an Olaf top, both of which are kind of like their own carry solo laners. But I still autopiloted and did my jungle strategy, and so I just kind of permacamp bot and tried to get them ahead. But after an unlucky counter gank by the enemy Viego, my entire game was screwed because I couldn't fight the enemy top or mid lane because they were out-leveled me now, so ganking was pretty much impossible. If I cleared, then Viego would just out-clear me, and I had no advantage bot lane because they had both died to Viego and leaving the other bot laner, the other enemy bot lane super far ahead. So kind of when we were already losing this game and near to the end of it, my Yone basically told me that I can't just I can't just camp bot. Like, you have to be adaptable. And it's a funny saying this because most of the time, people criticize you in game. It's just like nonsense that you never have to listen to. But what he was saying actually made a lot of sense. I was basically, by telling my bot lane that I was going to come down there, I was inadvertently telling my mid and top lane that they needed to play passive and not fight, otherwise they might lose and have no help. So that was kind of the issue there. I lost many games because I ended up ignoring mid and top lane in order to get my bot lane further ahead. But I really needed to have adaptability and not decide plays or routes before checking the lane states and seeing better options. For example, bot lane might have been a good gank opportunity, but if like my mid laner is getting pushed in and it's an enemy mid laner that's pretty immobile, it might be better to just go there rather than trying to coin flip and hope my teammates can play well in the bot lane fight so we can actually make an impact on the match. Needless to say, with this kind of autopilot strategy, my games tended to fall apart pretty fast if it didn't go, like, either it would go very well and I would get very far ahead, or it would fall apart and I would get very far behind. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I learned. I needed to adapt better during my jungle clears to try and path towards the lanes with good gank setup, but also just not do the same thing every game. I needed to analyze a little bit harder my solo lanes and see if they would need support first and foremost. Because honestly, a lot of the meta bot laners right now are pretty passive. Hence like Kog'Maw, Jinx, Jhin, like they're not the ones that are going for like level 2, 3 all-ins generally. Unless a good opportunity presents itself or the support is really strong at that part of the game. So I think it's better to invest some power in your solo lanes before you even consider bot lane in a lot of scenarios. Obviously, the whole point of this kind of concept is that we're not just like doing a cookie cutter game. We're not just doing the same thing every single game. That's something I learned that I've been doing that's probably been very detrimental to my climb so far. So I want to share that with you so you guys can also analyze your own gameplay, perhaps see the same mistakes. As for the other part of this demotion, my just absolutely terrible luck. I want to preface this section by saying that I don't believe in loser's queue. Like I don't think the matchmaking algorithm favors one team over the other when deciding what players should go on. I don't think they purposely put higher ranked players on one team. I think that it's generally random, so you might end up with higher players on the enemy team, but like generally it's a range of MMR. So you're only going to end up against people that are in your MMR range. So you shouldn't always look at rank either, because obviously someone in Gold 1 might be significantly better than someone who's currently in Plat 3. So if you see like a Plat 3 on your enemy team and your team's stuck like full of golds, don't just immediately think, oh, that's loser's queue, because then that might throw your mentality off for that game and make you lose it. So you got to stay focused on that part. But that said, there is a rule in League of Legends that's the 30-30-40 rule that I don't like fully agree with, but it does provide some valuable insight. If you're not familiar, basically it states that you're going to win 30% of your games no matter what, you're going to lose 30% of your games no matter what, and the other 70% are up to you. So it kind of makes you think more about how many games are winnable, which is what I like about it. So it basically tells me that I'm not going to win every game, that I'm not going to win close to every game. So it's better sometimes to just move on. If you know that this is going to be part of the 30% you're going to lose, it's better to just not waste time. Now this kind of rule generally tracks, we look at reasonable stats for players that are trying to win. So if you're not like, intentionally feeding, you will generally not see loss rates below 30%, right? Like you would lose that 40% and you lose the 30% you're going to win no matter what, or you're going to lose no matter what. You'd still have that 30% you're going to win no matter what. So, and then if obviously on the flip side of that, you're not normally going to have players that have higher than like 70% win rate, like on average, because like it's pretty hard. There's going to be a lot of unwinnable games, even for the best players in the world. So how does this actually apply to my demotion? Well, at the lowest point of my demotion period, where I was losing a lot of games in a row, I literally had a 16% win rate over 20 matches. Now, using that rule that I just covered, this should be mathematically impossible without the presence of actual trolling or terrible luck. And obviously, I was not trolling. I did have some trolls on my team, but that was not consistent throughout the 20 games. So it was pretty much, from what I can see, a 90% probability that luck was at play in this win rate. And while obviously I'm learning about it, I do want to highlight, I learned from my adaptability needs to change. I do want to highlight that sometimes you are just unlucky. And it sucks. It really sucks. But that's just part of the game as well. Like, I definitely was playing my hardest and trying. I wasn't tilted. I wasn't doing anything. I was just playing my game to the best of my ability and helping my team. And I still had a really, really bad win rate. And it can happen, and it will happen. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I was able to bounce back and recover from this. And I got repromoted into Platinum off of some generally consistent gameplay with Maokai. Again, I'm still working on my ult usage with him. It just moves so slow, it's hard to use as a primary engage tool, which I'm trying to kind of experiment with the secondary engage. But yeah, I got back in, and the presence of bad luck made the demotion a ton more demoralizing for me before, so I was kind of just down for a few days before I started trying to climb back into Platinum, because I was like, it felt like it wasn't completely my fault. Obviously, I know that a lot of games were my fault, but not all of them. That's what I want to highlight. So you shouldn't, I think there's a huge issue with the current mindset of climbing, where you need to take accountability for every single game that you lose. I don't think so. Now, I don't think you should be like, oh, team diff every game, like you shouldn't be like, oh, I lost because my jungler is bad. You made mistakes, and you have to recognize that. But you shouldn't try to blame every loss on yourself if you were trying your hardest and you were doing everything you could and you were still losing. And that's what's important, is you need to try and you need to do everything that you can. So a little overview, the lessons that I wanted to share with you today were to cherish adaptability, especially as a jungler, um, and kind of view losses as a test of mental fortitude. So what I mean by that is that if you lose, you should obviously try not to tilt. You should also try to just take accountability for what you did wrong, but also not blame yourself for your allies' mistakes. And that's important. Some people will just blame the whole game on themselves, like I said. And I think that's a huge issue with some of the ways that people are promoting solo queue mindsets right now. One quote that I really like is that you are only unable to progress if you quit trying. So we have to keep trying. We have to keep doing everything we can every game. And no game is hopeless, but you are probably going to lose 30% no matter what, according to our rule. So I just think to keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that you should try in 30% of your matches, obviously, but it does mean that 30% of your matches are out of your control, which is unfortunate, but we just have to really shift our focus away from those games and into that 40% where we really do have an impact. But anyways, thank you guys for watching and have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of this content. This is an update video, but I did want to give you guys a little preview of what will be happening kind of later on next week. For my next step in my League Explained Beginner's Guide, I'm going to be taking a look at every single champion in the game and what critical information you need to know if you're playing as or against them if you're just beginning in the game. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be a very long video. I'm working on it currently, but it's a tough project. I'm going to have kind of an ability rundown for every single champion, and then some quick tips and tricks for playing them, and then some good tips and tricks for playing against them, so that beginners who are going to the match should be able to use my video as a reference and be a little bit less lost with champions they haven't seen before. All right, like I said, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.